On the Taliban takeover and what comes next for Afghanistan. We want to bring in award-winning author Khaled Hosseini. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
In your book, The Kite Runner and 1,000 Splendid Suns, the characters in your stories really paint a picture of an Afghanistan before and after the Taliban took control. What's been going through your mind in the past week as we've been seeing these, in some ways, unmanageable scenes play out?
I grew up in Kabul until the age of 11. I have fantastic memories of growing up there. It's a city, frankly, a country and a people with whom I always have a deep, powerful emotional bond. And so watching the images of Kabul the last few days has been absolutely gut-wrenching. I can't believe that the Taliban flag is flying again over Kabul. I'm filled with uncertainty, with anxiety, with fear for people that are in Afghanistan that I care for personally, certainly family that I have in Western Afghanistan, but also, colleagues in Kabul, people who work in human rights organizations, who bought into American initiatives, whose lives are now in danger. They're terrified. They don't know what is going to happen to them. They're worried about revenge killings on the part of the Taliban. And so it's a time of real anxiety and uncertainty.
And I know that you said, for example, they are worried about revenge killings. What else are you hearing from the people who remain in Afghanistan on the ground there tonight?
Well, I think what I'm hearing is a sense of skepticism about the Taliban between what the Taliban officials who are going on television and radio are saying, that they're changed their ways and that they are going to respect human rights and allow women to have rights and so forth. And what we're kind of hearing about the street, and there was a protest in Nangarhar, in Jalalabad, in Nangarhar province, and several people the Taliban fired into the crowd that was trying to raise a flag and shot them. We're hearing reports, there were images of so-called thieves in the city of Herat that was being paraded around the city with their faces painted black with nooses around their neck. All of this really just kind of paints a very opposite picture to the public words that the Taliban are spreading about their newfound moderation.
You've taken several trips back to Afghanistan to do humanitarian work for the UN Refugee Agency and also with your own nonprofit foundation. What was life like there in the years after the U.S. overthrew the Taliban?
The last 20 years have been very challenging. Let's not paint a rosy picture. But that said, every time I went, there was, I noticed signs of progress in addition to obvious problems. Afghanistan had thousands of kilometers of roads built in the last 20 years. Women re-entered the workforce in 2021, and 9.5 million children were enrolled in school, 39% of them girls. This compares to just barely 900,000 children, most of them boys, in school during the Taliban era. Women served in the government. You could see infrastructure coming back. Millions of young urban professional Afghans learned how to engage with the outside world through social media and discuss with people within the country and outside the country 21st century issues like the environment and human rights and gender equality and so on and so forth. This obviously with a situation with rising insecurity particularly in the countryside, and an ongoing insurgency on the part of the Taliban, and an anxiety about frankly the eventuality of a day like we saw these last few days.
Is there any indication at all that the Taliban has a sense of what they're getting into here? They basically went from being in hiding for 2 decades to now being in charge of a country of roughly 40 million people. Can they strictly rule by fear?
Well, I hope they've learned some lessons. The Taliban have been a formidable military force, and certainly they've proven it. But it's one thing to win in the military and on the battlefield. It's a whole other thing. The really sort of the complicated work of actually governing a people and running a nation. That's a whole other matter. That requires a much more careful and more measured approach. And if the Taliban want to rule Afghanistan Afghanistan again through whips and guns and hanging ropes and gallows and so forth, then we're headed down a really bleak and nihilistic path. I hope and pray that at least some members of the Taliban who are influential have seen the wisdom of moderating their methods, of being more inclusive and allowing all members of Afghan society, including women, to come into the fold and play a meaningful role in the rebuilding of the country, just so Afghanistan can have a chance. But if they're going to govern the way they did in the 1990s, it's going to be very bleak.
You've urged the world to pay attention to the rights of women at this moment. And already today we've heard from a female anchor who says that the Taliban told her to not show up for work. What should the world be doing in this moment?
I'm very, very worried about women and girls in Afghanistan, and I think justifiably so. When I listen to female spokespersons on the internet who have lived in Afghanistan, worked there for the last 20 years, and you hear the anxiety, fear in their voice, there's a reason for that. I think, and I hope, that the international community will exert pressure on the Taliban and demand that the Taliban respect the essential rights of women, that they allow women to have a role in society. Or we cannot once again have half the population of Afghanistan subjugated, sequestered inside homes without any meaningful role in society. So I ask the international community to exert diplomatic pressure on the Taliban to respect the human rights of all Afghan citizens, but particularly women and girls.
Author Khaled Hosseini, we thank you so much for your time, for your insight tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.